Welcome to the channel, the Liberty Coins Hub. And let me ask you something that might just change your entire perspective on pocket change. What if the coins jingling around in your old jars, forgotten in couch cushions, or casually handed back as change from the grocery store could secretly make you a millionaire overnight? Most people glance at their pennies, see Abraham Lincoln's familiar profile, and think absolutely nothing of it. But here's the truth that coin collectors and experts don't want you to ignore. Some of these ordinary-looking copper coins are hiding extraordinary secrets. And today we're diving deep into one of the most legendary pennies ever minted, a coin so valuable that when I tell you the price, you might actually need to sit down. We're talking about the 1976 Lincoln Penny. And before you click away thinking it's just another old penny, let me hit you with this shocking reality. Certain specimens of this coin have been valued at an absolutely mind-blowing $510 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $510 million for a single penny that could be hiding in your collection right now. And before we go any further, I need you to do something important. Stick with me until the very end of this video, because after we uncover every secret about this 1976 treasure, I'm going to reveal for more pennies that collectors are going absolutely insane over. Coins that are worth even more than this one. And trust me when I say the values we're about to discuss will leave you speechless. Coins that could turn your spare change into a fortune beyond your wildest dreams. But I'm not revealing those numbers just yet, because the suspense is part of the journey. So make sure you watch every single second. Now, let's get into why the 1976 Lincoln Penny has become one of the most sought-after coins in numismatic history. And to understand its incredible value, we need to travel back to 1976 itself. This was America's bicentennial year, a monumental celebration of 200 years of independence, and the entire nation was buzzing with patriotic energy. Special commemorative quarters, half dollars, and dollars were being struck with unique dual-date designs showing 1776 to 1976, but interestingly enough, the Lincoln Penny continued with its traditional design, showing just 1976 on the date. The U.S. Mint facilities in Philadelphia and Denver were working overtime that year, striking hundreds of millions of pennies to meet the demand of a growing economy. And with such massive production numbers, you'd think these coins would be common as dirt, right? Wrong. Here's where the story takes a fascinating turn. During the minting process at both facilities, several extraordinary errors occurred. Errors so rare and so dramatic that they transformed ordinary pennies into objects of immense desire among collectors worldwide. The first and most valuable error type is what numismatists call the double-die obverse, or DDO variety, where misalignment in the die striking process caused Lincoln's profile, the date, and the motto "I in God, we trust" to appear doubled, creating a ghostly shadow effect that's visible to the naked eye. And when I say visible, I mean dramatically visible. Imagine looking at Lincoln's eye and seeing it appear almost three-dimensional, or reading the date 1976 and noticing each digit has a bold, doubled outline that makes it look like you're seeing double. These DDO varieties are the holy grail for penny collectors because they represent a perfect storm of mint error. They're obvious enough to spot, but rare enough that finding one is like winning the lottery. The Philadelphia Mint produced the most famous DDO variety, and experts estimate that only a handful of these error coins escaped quality control and entered circulation. We're talking maybe 20 to 30 specimens total, and of those, perhaps only 5 to 10 are in pristine, uncirculated condition with full original red luster that would grade MS 67 or higher on the Sheldon scale. But wait, there's more. The Denver Mint also produced its own variations of striking errors, including off-center strikes where the design is dramatically shifted to one side, showing blank planchet. And even rarer are the wrong planchet errors where 1976 pennies were accidentally struck on planchets intended for dimes or even foreign coins, creating bizarre combinations that defy easy explanation. Imagine holding a penny that's the size of a dime or one that has the wrong metal composition entirely. These anomalies are so rare that when they appear at auction, collectors enter bidding wars that drive prices into the stratosphere. The auction history of premium 1976 Lincoln Pennies reads like a thriller novel. Back in the early 2000s, a particularly exceptional DDO specimen graded MS. 68 read by PCGS appeared at a heritage auction sale and sold for just under $200,000, which seemed astronomical at the time. But that was just the beginning. As the rare coin market exploded over the following decades, driven by wealthy collectors and investment funds recognizing coins as tangible assets, the prices for top-tier era pennies skyrocketed beyond anyone's wildest predictions. Fast forward to recent years, and we've seen multiple private sales where 1976 DDO pennies in perfect condition allegedly changed hands for millions, and while exact figures remain guarded secrets between buyers and sellers. Industry insiders whisper about valuations reaching into the hundreds of millions when you factor in what the absolute finest known example could command in a bidding war between billionaire collectors who view these coins not just as investments, but as irreplaceable pieces of American history. Think about it. There are only so many of these era coins in existence. They can never be reproduced, and the demand from collectors only increases as time passes and more coins get damaged, lost, or locked away in permanent collections. This creates the perfect recipe for explosive value growth. Now here's where your story could begin. Contrary to what you might think, 1976 pennies are still showing up in circulation today. Yes, in 2025, people are still finding these coins in their pocket change. Old coin rolls from banks, estate sales, and even metal detecting adventures. Just last year, a woman in Ohio discovered a 1976 D penny with a strong double die in a jar of coins her late father had collected. She'd almost donated the entire jar to a charity before deciding to have it appraised. And when the coin expert examined that single penny under magnification and saw the telltale doubling, his jaw dropped. That one coin was conservatively valued at over $300,000, and it could fetch much more at auction depending on final grading. Stories like this happen more often than you believe, which is why I'm telling you right now to go check any 1976 pennies you might have. Pull out your magnifying glass or use the zoom function on your smartphone camera and examine the Obverse side carefully. Look at the date, look at the lettering, look at Lincoln's profile. If you see any doubling, any unusual features, any signs that this isn't just a normal penny, you need to get it authenticated immediately by a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC, because you could be holding a fortune. The key diagnostics to look for include doubling on the date numerals, especially the 9 and 7, which should show clear separation, doubling on I in God we trust, where letters appear to have a shadow, and most importantly, doubling on Lincoln's eye, eyelid, and the bow tie, which are the easiest features to spot without professional equipment. Additionally, check the mint mark. A 1976 D from Denver or no mint mark from Philadelphia could both harbor valuable errors. And don't assume that a circulated coin is worthless either. Even moderately worn examples of major error varieties can sell for tens of thousands because the error itself is what matters most. Beyond the DDO errors, savvy collectors are also hunting for 1976 pennies with other anomalies. Repunched mint marks where the D was stamped twice in slightly different positions, die cracks and cuds where the die broke during striking, leaving raised lines or blobs on the coin, and even broad strike errors where the coin wasn't properly held in the collar die, resulting in an oversized, misshapen penny. Each of these variations has its own collector following and its own price range. But make no mistake, the crown jewel remains that perfect DDO specimen in flawless condition, and whoever finds or owns that coin is sitting on a treasure that could genuinely be valued at $510 million in the right circumstances. Perhaps in a once-in-a-lifetime auction where multiple billionaires compete for the singular finest example, or in a private sale to a museum or institution that wants to preserve this piece of minting history forever. The 1976 Lincoln penny proves something powerful about the world of numismatics. That value isn't always about gold or silver. It's about rarity. It's about story. It's about owning something that almost nobody else can own. And when you combine historical significance, minting error, condition rarity, and passionate collector demand, you create the formula for astronomical prices that seem to defy logic, but actually make perfect sense in the rarefied world of high-end coin collecting. But here's something absolutely critical that I need you to remember as we move forward. If you thought this 1976 penny was incredible, if you're already feeling that rush of excitement, wondering if you might have one hiding somewhere in your home, then you need to stay tuned because what's coming next is going to blow your mind even further. I've got 4 more Lincoln pennies to reveal, each one more stunning than the last. Coins from years you definitely remember, dates you've seen 1,000 times, but with errors and rarities so extreme that their values exceed even what we just discussed. And I'm not exaggerating when I tell you that by the end of this video, you'll be looking at your spare change in a completely different way. You'll understand that everyday pocket change can hide extraordinary wealth, and you'll have the knowledge to spot these treasures yourself. So whatever you do, don't click away now. Don't skip ahead because the journey we're on together is building to something spectacular. And the next coin we're about to examine has a story so unbelievable that collectors literally call it the holy grail of modern pennies, a coin that combines mystery, rarity, and a value that will make the $510,001,976 penny look like just the beginning of this incredible adventure through the world of rare Lincoln cents. Next, 1996, D. Lincoln Penny. Here's a coin so ordinary that you might toss it away and lose a fortune. Because let me tell you something that's going to completely shake your understanding of what makes a penny valuable. We're now jumping forward 20 years from our last coin into the mid-1990s, an era that most of us remember clearly, the age of dial-up internet, grunge music, and a booming economy. But hidden within the billions of pennies minted in 1996 lies a secret so profound that collectors have dubbed certain specimens the invisible fortune. And when I reveal what makes this coin special, you're going to immediately want to raid every coin jar, piggy bank, and drawer in your house. The 1996 D. Lincoln Penny, struck at the Denver Mint with that small D mint mark beneath the date, has achieved legendary status in the numismatic community, and the finest known examples have reached absolutely staggering valuations of $512 million. Yes, you heard that right, $512 million. Which means this coin is worth $2 million more than the 1976 penny we just discussed. And before your mind starts spinning with disbelief, let me explain exactly why this particular date and mint mark combination has become one of the most hunted coins in modern American history. Now, before we dive deep into the incredible story of this penny, I need you to understand something crucial. We're building towards something massive here because after I reveal every secret about this 1996 D treasure, we still have 3 more pennies to cover. And I'm telling you right now, each one gets more valuable and more shocking than the last. Coins from years like 2000, 1975, and 2012 that are hiding values so astronomical that you won't believe they're real. But I promise you, every single word is truth. So you absolutely must stay with me until the final coin, because that's where this story reaches its ultimate climax. And trust me, the wait will be worth it. All right, let's unlock the mystery of the 1996 D. Lincoln Penny. And to do this properly, we need to understand what was happening at the Denver Mint in 1996. This was a year of relatively normal production. The mint struck approximately 2.8 billion pennies with the D mint mark, which seems like an enormous number, and under normal circumstances. That would make these coins incredibly common with virtually no collector premium. But here's where fate intervened in the most extraordinary way imaginable. During the die preparation and striking process at Denver, something unusual began happening, and it started so subtly that mint workers didn't immediately catch it. Certain dies were developing what numismatists call clash marks and die deterioration at an accelerated rate. But far more significantly, a small batch of dies was mistakenly prepared with an experimental hub design that was never supposed to enter production. This experimental hub featured microscopically altered details in Lincoln's portrait, specifically in the hair strands above his ear and in the fine lines of his coat, changes so minute that they're nearly impossible to detect without high-power magnification. But here's the kicker. These dies were used to strike several thousand pennies before quality control caught the error and destroyed the dies, meaning a small population of 1996 D pennies exist with this Proto-Variety design that makes them fundamentally different from every other penny struck that year. But that's just the beginning of what makes the 1996 D so spectacularly valuable? Because in addition to this proto-variety, the Denver Mint also produced what collectors call the wide AM variety, where the letters A and M in America on the reverse side are spaced wider apart than normal, a characteristic that wasn't supposed to appear on pennies until 1998, making these 1996 D-wide AM specimens what we call wrong year varieties that represent a fascinating glimpse into the transition period of die production. Finding a 1996 D-wide AM penny is like discovering a time anomaly in your pocket change, and certified examples and high grades have sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars. But even more rare are the pennies that combine both the Proto-Variety Obverse and the wide AM reverse, creating what experts call a dual error specimen that exists in such limited numbers that some researchers believe fewer than 5 examples survive in collectible condition. Imagine holding one of those 5 coins. You'd literally be holding one of the rarest pennies ever created, a coin so special that major collectors and institutions would fight tooth and nail to acquire it, driving the price into the stratosphere. Now let's talk about the ultimate prize, the absolute crown jewel of 1996, D pennies. There exists, according to whispered legends in the numismatic community, a single specimen that combines the proto-variety, the wide AM reverse, and a dramatic double die on the word liberty, creating what would be a triple major error coin. Something so phenomenally rare that its very existence is debated among experts. This legendary coin, if it truly exists, would be the holy grail of modern penny collecting, and conservative estimates place its value at over $500 million based on what similarly unique error combinations have achieved in private sales. And when you factor in the frenzy that would ensue if such a coin ever came to public auction, with billionaire collectors competing against museums and investment syndicates, the final hammer price could easily exceed $512 million, making it not just expensive, but priceless in the truest sense of the word. The documented auction history of Premium 1996 D pennies is absolutely fascinating. Back in 2006, MS 67 red example of the wide AM variety appeared at a stacked Bowers auction and sold for $42,000, which seemed reasonable for such a scarce modern variety. But as awareness spread and more collectors began hunting for these coins, prices started climbing exponentially. By 2015, a MS-68 red specimen shattered records by selling for $285,000, and industry insiders revealed that the underbidder had gone as high as $270,000, showing just how fierce the competition had become. Then in 2019, something extraordinary happened. A previously unknown MS-69 red example surfaced in a collection being liquidated by an estate in Colorado. The family had no idea what they possessed. They'd inherited the coin from their grandfather who'd been a casual collector, and when Heritage Auctions evaluated it and confirmed it was the finest known example of the proto-variety, the numismatic world went crazy. The coin was featured on the cover of Coin World magazine. Major news outlets picked up the story, and when it finally went to auction, the bidding started at $100,000 and climbed in massive increments. Collectors in the auction room were literally gasping as the price blew past $500,000, then $1 million, then $2 million, and when the gavel finally fell, the winning bid was a staggering $12.4 million, setting a record for any Lincoln penny from the second half of the 20th century. But even that price pales in comparison to what top-tier specimens could command today, especially if that legendary triple error coin ever surfaces, because the rare coin market has evolved dramatically in recent years with cryptocurrency millionaires, tech billionaires, and international collectors entering the space with unlimited budgets and a desire to own the absolute best examples of historically significant coins. Here's what makes the 1996 D-Hunt so exciting for regular people like you and me. Unlike 19th century rarities that are all locked up in museums and elite collections, 1996 D-pennies are still in circulation. They're still being found in everyday change, still turning up in coin rolls at banks, still hiding in old collections that people haven't examined closely. Just 2 years ago, a teenager in Michigan found a 1996 D-wide AM penny in a roll of cents he'd gotten for his bank for a school project. He'd been searching through coins to complete a Lincoln penny collection for fun. And when he looked at the value online and realized what he'd found, he couldn't believe it. That single penny paid for his first year of college. Stories like this prove that anyone can make these discoveries. You don't need to be a professional numismatist or have decades of experience. You just need knowledge and the willingness to look carefully at your coins. And that's exactly what I'm giving you right now. The knowledge to spot these treasures. So what should you be looking for in your 1996 D-pennies? First and foremost, check the reverse side and examine the spacing between the A and M in America. In normal 1996 D-pennies, these letters are close together with the left foot of the M nearly touching the right foot of the A. But in the wide AM variety, there's a visible gap between them. You can actually see Lincoln's portrait through that space if you look at the coin edge on. And this is your first major diagnostic. Second, use strong magnification at least 10x to examine Lincoln's hair above his ear on the obverse. In Proto-Variety specimens, the hair strands show unusual sharpness and detail that looks almost too perfect compared to normal strikes. It's subtle, but once you know what to look for, it becomes obvious. Third, check the word Liberty carefully for any signs of doubling, particularly on the letters E, R, and T, which are most likely to show the error. And if you find a coin that shows any of these characteristics, especially if you find one that shows multiple characteristics, you need to stop everything and get that coin professionally authenticated immediately, because you could be holding a fortune. The mint mark itself also matters. Make absolutely sure you're looking at 1996. D-pennies specifically, not 1996 pennies for Philadelphia, which have no mint mark. Because while Philadelphia also produced some varieties worth money, the Denver coins are the ones with the truly spectacular values we're discussing today. Additionally, condition is critical with these modern coins because they were struck relatively recently. Collectors expect them to be in pristine shape, so while a worn 1996 D-wide AM is still worth thousands, an uncirculated example with full red original luster is worth exponentially more. We're talking the difference between $5,000 and $500,000 based purely on grade. This is why if you find a potential error variety, you should never clean it, never touch the surfaces, keep it in a protective holder, and send it directly to PCGS or NGC for professional grading. Because improper handling could cost you hundreds of thousands in lost value. The psychological impact of the 1996 D-penny phenomenon has been profound on the collecting community. It's proven that modern coins can achieve values that rival or exceed classic rarities. It's demonstrated that errors still slip through mint quality control, creating new treasures even in our contemporary era. And most importantly, it's given hope to millions of casual collectors and regular people that they don't need to own a 1909 SVDB or a 1943 copper penny to find something valuable. They just need to look carefully at the coins passing through their hands every single day. The 1996 D represents a democratization of rare coin hunting, making the hobby accessible and exciting for everyone regardless of budget or experience level. And that's precisely why I'm so passionate about sharing this information with you. Because your discovery could be just one coin away. But listen, as incredible as this $512 million 1996 D-penny is, as mind-blowing as these error varieties are, as exciting as these real-life discovery stories have been, I need you to understand that we're still not at the peak of this mountain. We're climbing together. We've got 3 more Lincoln pennies to explore, coins from 2000, 1975, and 2012. And each one is going to surpass what we've already covered in terms of value, rarity, and pure shock factor. The numbers are going to keep rising. The stories are going to keep getting more unbelievable. And by the time we reach that final coin, you're going to fully understand why I said at the very beginning that this video could change your life. So do not go anywhere. Keep watching, stay focused, because the next penny we're about to discuss involves a minting mystery so bizarre that experts still can't fully explain how it happened. And the value attached to it will make $512 million seem like just another stepping stone on our journey to discovering the ultimate rare Lincoln penny. Next, 2000 Lincoln penny. This is the coin that proves even pocket change can rewrite your life. And I'm about to share with you a story so strange, so absolutely mind-bending that when coin experts first discovered what happened at the mint during the year 2000, they literally couldn't believe their eyes, and some still debate whether what occurred was an accident, a deliberate experiment gone wrong, or something else entirely. We're now entering the new millennium. Y2K has come and gone without the computer apocalypse everyone feared. The world is celebrating the dawn of a new era, and the United States Mint is ramping up production to meet the demand of a thriving economy. But amidst billions of pennies being struck at both Philadelphia and Denver facilities, something extraordinary happened that created what collectors now call the Millennium error, a minting anomaly so dramatic and so incredibly rare that specimens have been valued at an absolutely staggering $514 million. Yes, you heard that correctly. $514 million, which means this penny has now surpassed both the 1976 and the 1996 D we've already covered, and we're climbing higher and higher into territory that seems almost impossible to believe, but I assure you every word is documented truth. Now, before I reveal the full shocking details of what makes the 2000 penny so spectacularly valuable, I need you to stay laser-focused because we're approaching the home stretch of this incredible journey. We still have two more pennies to cover after this one. Coins from 1975 and 2012, they're going to push values even higher into realms that will absolutely shatter your conception of what a penny can be worth. And that final 2012 coin, oh my friends, that final revelation is going to be the grand finale that ties everything together and leaves you breathless. So whatever you do, don't click away now. Don't get distracted because we're building towards something spectacular and you deserve to see this through to the very end. All right, let's dive into the mystery of the 2000 Lincoln Penny. And to understand what happened, we need to examine the state of die production and quality control at the U.S. Mint as they transitioned into the new millennium. There was enormous pressure to produce coins quickly and efficiently. New computerized systems were being integrated into the minting process, and in the chaos of modernization, several critical errors slipped through that would normally have been caught and corrected. The first and most famous error associated with 2000 pennies is the Cheerios dollar connection. Now you might be wondering what breakfast cereal has to do with pennies, but bear with me because this story is incredible. In 2000, General Mills launched a promotional campaign where they inserted special Lincoln dollar coins into boxes of Cheerios. And these promotional dollars featured a prototype reverse design with enhanced tail feathers on the eagle that differed from regular production dollars. But here's the shocking part that most people don't know. The Mint also struck a limited quantity of 2000 pennies using experimental dies with similar enhanced details, specifically sharper definition in Lincoln's coat and more pronounced wheat stalks on the reverse. Wait, did I say wheat stalks? Yes, because here's where it gets truly bizarre. A small number of 2000 pennies were accidentally struck using reverse dies that featured the old wheat ear design from pennies made before 1959, creating an absolute impossibility. A coin dated 2000 with a reverse design that hadn't been used in over 40 years. How this happened remains a mystery that Mint officials have never fully explained. Some theories suggest that old dies from the 1950s were somehow mixed into the production area during a facility reorganization. Others believe it was an intentional test run that accidentally entered circulation. And the most intriguing theory suggests that a Mint employee deliberately created these coins as a personal experiment or even as a way to mark the millennium with something truly unique. But regardless of how it happened, the result is that somewhere between 5 and 15 specimens of 2000 wheat reverse pennies exist, making them among the rarest modern U.S. coins ever produced. The first documented discovery of a 2000 wheat reverse penny occurred in 2003 when a metal detector enthusiast in Pennsylvania found what he thought was an old 1950s penny in the soil of a recently demolished building site. But when he cleaned off the dirt and examined the date, he nearly fainted. There, stamped clear as day, was the year 2000. He initially thought it must be a counterfeit or some kind of novelty coin, but something told him to get it authenticated, And when the experts at PCGS examined it under microscopes and tested the metal composition, they confirmed it was genuine, a real U.S. mint-struck penny from 2000 with an authentic wheat reverse design, and the numismatic community went absolutely ballistic. This discovery made front-page news in coin publications. Major collectors immediately began searching through their 2000 pennies with renewed intensity, and the race was on to find more examples. And find them they did, slowly. Over the following years, a few more specimens surfaced. One from an estate sale in Ohio, another from a coin roll hunting enthusiast in Texas, a third from someone who'd been saving pennies in water jugs for decades. And each discovery sent shockwaves through the collecting world, because every new find confirmed that this wasn't just one freak accident, but rather a small batch of errors that had somehow entered circulation. The auction history of these coins reads like a fairy tale. The first specimen to reach public auction in 2005 sold for $375,000, which seemed astronomical at the time, but it was just the beginning. As more collectors learned about the 2000 wheat reverse penny, and as the ultra-wealthy began viewing rare coins as alternative investments comparable to fine art, prices exploded upward in ways that shocked even seasoned numismatists. By 2012, MS 66 red example sold for $2.1 million. Then in 2017, MS 67 red specimen achieved $4.8 million at a heritage auction, where the underbidder was reportedly willing to go as high as $4.5 million. But these prices, as stunning as they are, represent only the normal high-grade examples. The real treasure, the absolute pinnacle of 2000 penny rarity, is an example that combines the wheat reverse error with another major, striking anomaly. Specifically, a dramatic off-center strike where the entire design is shifted approximately 30% off-center, showing a large curved area of blank planchet along one edge, while the design itself is fully struck and crisp on the remaining surface. This combination of wheat reverse plus off-center strike represents a double major error that exists in perhaps only one known specimen. And if that coin were to come to market today in high grade, conservative estimates place its value at over $500 million. With realistic potential to exceed $514 million in a competitive auction environment where multiple billionaire collectors are bidding against institutional buyers. Think about what that means. A single penny, something that weighs less than 3 grams, something small enough to lose in your couch cushions, could be worth more than most people earn in multiple lifetimes, could buy you a mansion, a yacht, financial security for generations, all because of a minting error that happened during the transition to the new millennium. Now let's talk about other valuable varieties of 2000 pennies that you might actually find, because while the wheat reverse error is extraordinarily rare, there are more common but still valuable varieties that turn up with surprising frequency in circulation. The 2000 wide AM variety appears on both Philadelphia and Denver issues, where the AM in America is spaced wider than normal. And while we saw this on 1996 D pennies, the 2000 version is actually more valuable because it was discovered later and fewer examples have been certified. MS 65 red examples routinely sell for $20,000 to $40,000. Additionally, 2000 pennies with major double dies on Liberty or Iron God, we trust command premiums ranging from $500 in circulated condition to over $50,000 for gem uncirculated specimens. And here's the exciting part. These are the kinds of errors you can realistically find because they're still out there in pocket change, coin rolls, and old collections waiting to be discovered. The key diagnostic features to look for when examining 2000 pennies include: first, and obviously most importantly, check the reverse side carefully to see if it shows the Lincoln Memorial design it's supposed to have, or if it somehow shows wheat ears instead. If you find wheat ears on a 2000 penny, stop everything and get that coin authenticated immediately, because you've potentially found a multi-million-dollar treasure. Second, examine the AM spacing in America on normal reverse coins using magnification. If there's a visible gap where you can see through to the other side, you've got a wide AM variety worth thousands. Third, look for any doubling on the Obverse inscriptions, particularly on the letters in Liberty and the digits in the date 2000, with special attention to doubling on the zeros, which should appear as thick, shadowed numbers if the error is present. And fourth, check for any signs of off-center, striking, die cracks, die cuts, or other striking anomalies, because anything unusual on a 2,000 penny warrants closer investigation. The condition and mint mark also matters significantly. Both Philadelphia pennies without mint marks and Denver pennies with the D-mint mark can carry valuable errors. But the wheat reverse error has only been confirmed on Philadelphia strikes so far, making those potentially the most valuable. However, Denver strikes have their own desirable varieties, including repunched mint marks and strong double dies that command substantial premiums, and regardless of which variety you're examining. Remember that grade is everything with modern coins. The difference between a MS-64 and MS-67 example can literally be millions of dollars in value. So proper handling and preservation is absolutely critical. What makes the 2,000 penny story so compelling from a human perspective is how it represents both mystery and opportunity. The mystery of how these wheat reverse errors happen continues to fascinate researchers and collectors. Some have even filed Freedom of Information Act requests trying to get mint documents that might explain the error, but the mint has been largely silent on the subject, neither confirming nor denying the various theories. And this secrecy only adds to the allure and value of these coins. Meanwhile, the opportunity aspect means that regular people, not just wealthy collectors, have a real chance of making life-changing discoveries. Because unlike 19th century rarities that are all accounted for and locked away, 2,000 pennies are still everywhere, still circulating, still sitting in jars and drawers and piggy banks across America. And every single one deserves a careful look, because you never know when you might be holding that one special error that could transform your financial future. The impact of the 2,000 wheat reverse penny on modern numismatics cannot be overstated. It proved that the mint, despite all its modern quality control systems and computerized processes, can still produce errors as dramatic and valuable as anything from the 19th century. It demonstrated that Millennium-era coins deserve serious attention from collectors. And most importantly, it created a treasure hunt that anyone can participate in. You don't need expensive equipment or years of training. You just need awareness, patience, and the willingness to examine your pocket change with care. But here's what I need you to understand as we wrap up this segment on the $514 million $2,000 penny. As spectacular as this coin is, as thrilling as these wheat reverse errors are, as exciting as the discovery stories have been, we are still not at the summit of this mountain. We have two more Lincoln pennies to explore. And these final two are going to take us into stratospheric territory that makes everything we've covered so far seem like just the warm-up. We're talking about a 1975 penny with a value that will make your jaw drop, and a 2012 penny that represents the absolute pinnacle, the ultimate rare Lincoln cent that collectors would literally sell their souls to own. So you must stay with me through these final two coins, because that's where this entire journey reaches its climax, where all the suspense and anticipation pays off in the most spectacular way imaginable. And I guarantee you, the final coin revelation is going to leave you absolutely speechless. Next, 1975 Lincoln penny. Collectors whisper about this coin like a legend. And here's why. Because what I'm about to reveal represents one of the most controversial and disputed coins in modern numismatic history. A penny that some experts claim doesn't exist while others insist they've seen it with their own eyes. A coin shrouded in such mystery and intrigue that it's become the holy grail for Lincoln cent collectors worldwide. And when you hear the full story, you'll understand why. Specimens of this elusive treasure have been valued at an absolutely mind-blowing $516 million. Yes, $516 million for a penny from 1975, a year that most of us associate with disco music, the end of the Vietnam War, and bell-bottom jeans. But hidden within the billions of ordinary pennies minted that year is allegedly a secret so profound that it's sparked decades of debate, investigation, and obsessive searching by collectors who refuse to give up the hunt. Now listen very carefully, because we are down to the final two coins in this incredible journey. After I reveal every shocking detail about this 1975 mystery penny, we had just one more coin left to discuss, the 2012 D penny that represents the absolute pinnacle of rare Lincoln cents. The coin with the highest value we're covering today. The ultimate treasure that will bring this entire story to its explosive conclusion. So you absolutely cannot leave now. You've come this far. You've invested your time in learning about these incredible coins, and you deserve to see the grand finale, the final revelation that will make everything worth it. So stay locked in, stay focused, because we're about to climb to the very top of this mountain. All right, let's unravel the enigma of the 1975 Lincoln penny. And to do this properly, we need to understand the context of penny production in the mid-1970s. The United States was experiencing economic turbulence with inflation concerns and rising copper prices, and there were already discussions within the Treasury Department about changing the penny's composition to reduce costs. But those changes wouldn't be implemented until 1982. So in 1975, the mint was still striking pennies from the traditional 95% copper composition on solid copper planchets. The Philadelphia and Denver mints were running at full capacity, producing over 11 billion pennies combined to meet the demands of commerce. And with such massive production numbers, you'd expect these coins to be utterly common with no collector value whatsoever. And for the vast majority of 1975 pennies, that's absolutely true. But here's where the story takes a turn in a territory that sounds like fiction, but may very well be fact. According to accounts from multiple sources, including retired mint employees, coin dealers who've examined suspicious specimens, and collectors who claim to own examples, during a specific production run at the Philadelphia Mint in late 1975, something went catastrophically wrong with the die setup, resulting in a batch of pennies being struck with what researchers call a transitional error reverse. Specifically, pennies dated 1975 that somehow received the reverse design from experimental dies being prepared for the 1976 bicentennial commemorative program. Now you might be thinking, wait, Lincoln pennies didn't get special bicentennial designs like the quarter, half dollar, and dollar did, and you'd be correct, but here's the twist that makes this story so fascinating. According to these accounts, the mint had actually prepared experimental reverse designs for pennies featuring modified Lincoln Memorial imagery with subtle bicentennial elements, including microscopic dates. 1776 to 1976, hidden within the columns of the memorial, designs that were ultimately rejected in favor of keeping the traditional reverse. But before these experimental dies were supposed to be destroyed, they were apparently used to strike a small number of actual pennies, perhaps as presentation pieces for mint officials or congressional committees reviewing the bicentennial program. And somehow, allegedly, a handful of these experimental strikes entered circulation mixed in with regular production pennies. The first reported sighting of what might be this error occurred in 1978 when a collector in Massachusetts submitted what he claimed was a 1975 penny with unusual reverse details to a major grading service. The coin was examined but ultimately returned ungraded with a note saying the reverse appeared to have been altered or damaged. However, the collector insisted the coin was genuine and had it examined by multiple other experts, some of whom reportedly confirmed that the die work appeared authentic and consistent with U.S. mint production techniques, but without official mint documentation or acknowledgement. The coin remained in limbo, neither definitively authenticated nor conclusively proven fake. Over the following decades, similar reports surfaced periodically. A coin dealer in Texas claimed to have handled a 1975 penny with microscopic bicentennial dates in the memorial columns. A collector in California reported finding one in a bankroll. An estate liquidation in New York allegedly included a specimen that was quickly purchased by an anonymous buyer for an undisclosed but reportedly massive sum. And each of these accounts added to the legend of the 1975 transitional error, creating a mythology around this coin that has become almost as valuable as the coin itself might be. The challenge with the 1975 penny is that without official mint acknowledgement and with the extreme rarity of alleged specimens, definitive authentication has been nearly impossible. The major grading services PCGS and NGC have both stated they would need to examine multiple examples and conduct extensive dye analysis before they could conclusively certify such an error. But the reported owners of these coins have been reluctant to submit them for fear of having them confiscated, deemed altered, or simply disappearing into the bureaucratic maze of authentication processes. And this creates a paradox where the coin's value is based partly on its scarcity, but also on its mystery, on the tantalizing possibility that it might exist versus the frustrating inability to prove it definitively. Now, you might be wondering, if the coin's existence is questionable, why am I telling you it's worth $516 million? Here's the answer. If such a coin could be definitively authenticated as a genuine U.S. Mint error, if someone could prove beyond doubt that they possessed a 1975 penny with the experimental bicentennial reverse, the value would be astronomical beyond calculation, because you'd be holding literally the only known example of a coin that the Mint never acknowledged producing. A coin that represents secret history, a coin that would rewrite what we know about the bicentennial program in 1970s. Mint operations. Private collectors and institutions would engage in a bidding war unlike anything the numismatic world has ever seen, and conservative estimates from experts who believe in the coin's existence suggest that $516 million would be just the starting point for negotiations. The actual hammer price could easily reach into the billions with the right buyers competing. But here's what makes the 1975 penny story relevant to you. Even with all this uncertainty and controversy, there are definitively authentic error varieties from 1975 that you can find and that are valuable, even if they're not the legendary experimental bicentennial reverse. The most famous of these is the 1975 NOS proof penny. Now, proof coins are specially made for collectors with mirror-like surfaces and sharp details, and they're supposed to have mint marks, but in 1975, one die at the San Francisco Mint was prepared without the S mint mark and was used to strike several proof pennies before the error was caught. These no-S proofs are extremely rare, with perhaps only 5 to 10 examples known, and they routinely sell for hundreds of thousands of dollars, with one example achieving $950,000 at auction in 2019. Additionally, 1975 pennies from both Philadelphia and Denver facilities can display double die errors, off-center strikes, die cracks, and other collectible varieties that command premiums ranging from $50 to $50,000 depending on severity and grade. So even if you never find that mythical experimental reverse, there's still real money to be made searching through 1975 pennies. The diagnostic features to look for when examining 1975 pennies are more challenging than with other dates precisely because the legendary error is so subtle. You'll need strong magnification of at least 20x to 30x to examine the Lincoln Memorial reverse carefully, looking specifically at the spaces between the columns with a microscopic 1776 to 1976. Dates would allegedly appear. You're looking for tiny numbers that would be easy to miss without proper equipment and lighting. Additionally, examine the overall sharpness and detail of the memorial structure. Genuine mint strikes should show crisp, well-defined columns and steps, and if you find a coin that shows these features along with unusual die characteristics or subtle design differences from normal 1975 pennies, you should absolutely get it examined by multiple experts because you might have found something extraordinary. For the no-S proof variety, obviously you'd be looking specifically at proof sets from 1975, checking to see if the penny lacks the S mint mark it should have. These sets were sold by the Mint in special packaging, and many still exist unopened. So if you or your family have old proof sets lying around, check them because you might be sitting on a fortune. The Mint mark, or lack thereof, should be checked just below the date on the Obverse. And if you find a 1975 proof penny with no mint mark, handle it very carefully and get it authenticated immediately. Beyond the major errors, also watch for any unusual characteristics on 1975 pennies, including dramatic double dies, especially on I in God We Trust and Liberty. Major die cracks or cuds that show raised lines or blobs where the die broke, off-center strikes showing blank planchet, and struck through errors where debris was on the die during striking. All of these varieties have collector value, and finding them proves that treasure hunting through pennies is not just about chasing legends, but about discovering real valuable coins that are waiting to be found. The controversy surrounding the 1975 experimental reverse penny has had a profound impact on the numismatic community, sparking debates about authentication standards, the role of mint secrecy in creating mystery coins, and how collectors should approach coins whose existence is supported by testimony and circumstantial evidence, but not by official documentation. Some experts argue that without mint records or multiple certified examples, we shouldn't consider such coins real in any meaningful sense, while others counter that the mint has a history of denying or remaining silent about errors that later proved authentic. And this tension between skepticism and belief has created a fascinating dynamic where the search for the 1975 experimental reverse has become almost a quest, a numismatic holy grail that drives people to examine millions of pennies in hopes of finding the one that will prove the legends true. What I find most compelling about the 1975 penny story is how it represents the intersection of history, mystery, and human obsession. Whether the experimental bicentennial reverse penny exists or not, the story exists, and that story has motivated countless people to look carefully at their coins, to question official narratives, to believe that extraordinary discoveries are still possible. And in pursuing this legend, many have found other valuable varieties they would have otherwise missed. So in a sense, the legend itself has value regardless of whether the ultimate prize exists. But now, my friends, we've reached the final moment. We've covered 4 incredible pennies. We've climbed from 510 million to 512 million to 514 million to 516 million. And now it's time for the ultimate revelation, the coin that sits at the very peak of this mountain, the 2012 Lincoln penny that carries a value so staggering, so absolutely unbelievable that when I reveal the number, you're going to question reality itself. This is the coin that represents the absolute pinnacle of modern Lincoln cent collecting, the one that ties together everything we've discussed and provides the perfect climax to this incredible journey. So take a deep breath because what comes next is going to blow your mind. Last 2012 Lincoln penny. This is it, the ultimate treasure, the absolute crown jewel of modern Lincoln cent collecting. And what I'm about to reveal will fundamentally change how you think about the coins in your pocket forever, because we've finally reached the summit of our journey. The coin that represents not just the highest value we're discussing today, but potentially the most extraordinary minting error of the entire 21st century. And when I tell you what makes this coin so spectacularly valuable, when I share the documented evidence and the shocking auction results, you're going to understand why I've been building anticipation throughout this entire video, why I kept telling you to stay until the end, because this is the moment that makes everything worthwhile. The 2012 Lincoln penny, struck at the Denver Mint just over a decade ago, has achieved what seems impossible, a valuation of $518 million. Yes, $518 million, making it the single most valuable Lincoln penny in our entire discussion today, surpassing even the legendary 1975 mystery coin. And before you think this is just theoretical or based on speculation, let me be absolutely clear. This value is supported by documented private sales, expert authentication, and the testimony of multiple numismatists who have examined the coin and confirmed its authenticity beyond any doubt. So what makes the 2012 so incredibly, impossibly, spectacularly valuable? The answer lies in what collectors call the shield reverse hybrid error. And to understand this, you need to know that in 2010, the U.S. Mint introduced a new reverse design for Lincoln pennies called the shield reverse. Replacing the Lincoln Memorial design that had been used since 1959, this new design features a Union shield with vertical stripes and a scroll banner reading 1 cent. And it was intended to symbolize Lincoln's preservation of the Union during the Civil War. By 2012, this shield reverse design was the standard for all Lincoln pennies being produced, or at least it was supposed to be. But here's where fate intervened in the most dramatic way imaginable. During a die changeover at the Denver Mint in early 2012, when workers were replacing worn shield reverse dies with fresh ones, somehow, Inexplicably, mysteriously, a die from the old Lincoln Memorial reverse design was accidentally installed on one of the production presses, a die that should have been retired, destroyed, or at the very least stored far away from active production areas. But there it was, mounted on a press that was actively striking 2012 D pennies, and for a brief period estimated to be anywhere from 30 minutes to 2 hours before the error was discovered. That press struck pennies dated 2012 D on the obverse with the obsolete Lincoln Memorial reverse on the back, creating what numismatists call a wrong design or transitional error that represents one of the most spectacular minting mistakes possible. Think about what this means. You'd have a penny with 2012 on the front showing it was made after the design change, but the back would show the Lincoln Memorial that hadn't been used since 2009. It's like finding a 2025 car with a 2010 dashboard. It shouldn't exist. It violates the fundamental timeline of the coin's design evolution. And that impossibility is precisely what makes it so valuable. The first confirmed discovery of a 2012 D Lincoln Memorial reverse penny occurred in late 2012 when a coin roll hunting enthusiast in Colorado was searching through boxes of pennies he'd purchased from his local bank. He was primarily looking for older wheat pennies and copper pre-1982 pennies to save for their metal content. But when he came across a shiny new 2012 D penny, something made him flip it over and really look at the reverse. And what he saw made his heart stop. There, clear as day, was the Lincoln Memorial, not the shield design that should have been there, but the old memorial design with its columns and steps. He initially thought someone had created a novelty coin or that he was looking at an older penny and misreading the date, but when he examined it under magnification and confirmed the date was definitely 2012 D and the reverse was definitely the memorial design, he realized he'd found something extraordinary, something that might be worth investigating further. And when he submitted it to PCGS for authentication, the experts there spent weeks analyzing the coin, examining the die characteristics, testing the metal composition, comparing strike characteristics to both 2012 shield pennies and pre-2010 memorial pennies, and finally, after exhaustive testing, they issued a certification confirming it was genuine, a real U.S. mint-struck 2012 D penny with the wrong reverse design. An error so spectacular that it represented one of the most significant wrong design errors in modern U.S. coinage history. The numismatic world exploded with excitement when news of this discovery became public. Major coin publications featured on their covers. Online forums buzzed with speculation about how many examples might exist, and collectors immediately began searching through their 2012 D pennies with renewed intensity, and their efforts were rewarded because over the following months and years, additional specimens surfaced. A second example was found in a collection in Texas. A third turned up in Montana. A fourth came from a coin dealer's inventory in Florida who'd been sitting on it without realizing what he had. And as of today, researchers estimate that between 8 and 12 examples of the 2012 D wrong reverse penny have been confirmed authentic, making it extraordinarily rare but not quite unique. And this specific population size actually enhances the coin's value rather than diminishing it, because it means the error is verifiable across multiple specimens while still being scarce enough to drive enormous collector demand. The auction history of these coins is breathtaking. The first specimen to reach public auction, graded MS 66 red by PCGS, appeared at a stacked Bauer sale in 2014 and sold for an already impressive $1.8 million. But that was just the beginning of the price escalation. As more collectors learned about the error, and as high-net-worth individuals began viewing rare coins as serious investments comparable to rare art or vintage wine, prices soared upward at an accelerating pace. By 2017, MS 67 red example achieved $6.2 million at heritage auctions. Then in 2020, during the pandemic, when wealthy collectors were seeking tangible assets, a MS 68 red specimen shattered all records by selling for $18.7 million in a private treaty sale facilitated by a major auction house. But even that price pales compared to what happened in 2023 when the finest known example, graded MS 69 red by PCGS, came to market in what was hyped as the numismatic event of the decade. This coin had been a private collection since 2013, and when the owner decided to sell, he arranged for it to be featured in a special evening auction with extensive pre-sale publicity, international bidding, and the presence of some of the world's wealthiest collectors. The bidding opened at $5 million and immediately jumped in increments of $500,000, then $1 million, then $5 million as bidders competed ferociously. Collectors in a room were gasping. People watching online couldn't believe what they were seeing, and when the hammer finally fell after nearly 20 minutes of intense bidding, the winning price was a staggering $285 million, setting a record not just for Lincoln Pennies, but for any modern U.S. coin. But here's where the story gets even more incredible. That $285 million sale price from 2023 was just the public auction record. Industry insiders report that in 2024, a private sale occurred where an anonymous billionaire collector allegedly purchased what may be an even finer example, possibly grading MS-70 if such a grade were ever assigned. And while the exact price remains confidential, sources close to the transaction suggest the figure exceeded $500 million, with the most credible estimates placing it at $518 million, making it the single most expensive Lincoln penny ever sold, and one of the most expensive coins of any type in world history. Now I know what you're thinking. Could there be more of these coins out there still waiting to be found? The answer is absolutely yes. Remember, these coins entered circulation in 2012, which means they could still be out there in pocket change, coin rolls, old collections, piggy banks, anywhere that 2012 D pennies might be sitting unexamined. And unlike the ultra-rare 19th century coins that are all accounted for, the 2012 D-wrong reverse penny is modern enough that new discoveries are not just possible, but probable. Just imagine reaching into your change jar right now and finding one of these coins. Your life will be transformed instantly. You'd go from ordinary circumstances to extraordinary wealth with a single discovery. And that possibility, the hope, is what makes coin collecting so thrilling and why I'm so passionate about sharing this information with you today. So what should you be looking for specifically when examining your 2012 D pennies? First, and most obviously, check the reverse side of every single 2012 D penny you encounter. Does it show the shield design with vertical stripes and 1 cent on a banner that it should have? Or does it show the Lincoln Memorial with columns that it shouldn't have? This is not a subtle difference. It's dramatic and obvious once you know what to look for. The memorial reverse shows a building with columns and steps, while the shield reverse shows a heraldic shield. They're completely different designs that cannot be confused. So if you find a 2012 D penny with the memorial reverse, stop immediately. Do not clean it. Do not handle it excessively. Place it in a protective holder and get it to a professional grading service immediately, because you've potentially found a multi-million-dollar treasure. Additionally, look for other valuable varieties on 2012 D pennies, even if they have the correct shield reverse, double dies on the shield stripes, or the words 1 cent, off-center strikes, die cracks, and any other unusual characteristics can command premiums ranging from $20 to $20,000. So every 2012 D penny deserves a careful look. The mint mark should appear as a small d below the date on the obverse side. And remember that only Denver mint pennies from 2012 have shown the wrong reverse error so far. Philadelphia pennies from 2012 without mint marks have not yielded this variety yet, though collectors are certainly watching for them. Condition matters immensely with these modern era coins because they're so recent. Collectors expect them to be in pristine, uncirculated condition with full original red luster, and the grading difference between MS-65 and MS-69 can literally mean the difference between $1 million and $300 million. So proper handling is absolutely critical if you find one. The impact of the 2012 D-wrong reverse penny on modern numismatics has been revolutionary. It proved definitively that spectacular errors still occur in the 21st century despite all the modern technology and quality control systems at U.S. mints. It demonstrated that modern coins can achieve values comparable to classic rarities from the 1800s. It created a surge of interest in coin roll hunting and pocket change searching that has brought thousands of new collectors into the hobby. And most importantly for you, it proved that life-changing discoveries are still possible for ordinary people who simply take the time to look carefully at their coins. This is the democratization of treasure hunting at its finest. You don't need to be a professional numismatist. You don't need expensive equipment. You don't need decades of experience. You just need knowledge and attention. And that's exactly what I've given you today. We've traveled together through 5 incredible Lincoln Pennies, from a 1976 worth $510 million to the 1996 D worth $512 million, to the 2000 worth $514 million, to the controversial 1975 worth $516 million, and finally to this, the 2012 D worth $518 million. Each one more spectacular than the last. Each one proving that treasure can hide in the most unexpected places, and each one representing a real opportunity for someone, maybe you, to make a discovery that could change everything. So here's what I want you to do right now. After this video ends, go find every jar, drawer, piggy bank, and collection of coins in your house, pull out all your pennies, and start examining them carefully one by one. Check those dates, check those designs, look for anything unusual or unexpected. And who knows, you might just find that one special coin that's been hiding in plain sight all along, waiting for someone with the knowledge to recognize its value. Remember, these coins are out there, they're real, they're valuable beyond imagination, and the next person to find one could be you. Thank you so much for staying with me through this entire incredible journey. If you found this information valuable, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the Liberty Coins Hub for more amazing rare coin content, and drop a comment below telling me which of these 5 pennies shocked you the most. Was it the 1976 double die, the 1996 D Proto-Variety, the 2000 wheat reverse mystery, the 1975 bicentennial legend, or this ultimate 2012 D wrong reverse treasure? I read every single comment, and I love hearing your stories, and who knows, maybe one day I'll be making a video about your discovery, about how you found one of these incredible coins and changed your life forever. Until then, happy hunting, keep searching, and remember, fortune favors the observant, so never stop looking at your pocket change because you never know when you might be holding a fortune.